The name's Bond. James Bond.
You're a wizard, Harry.
I drink your milkshake.
You can't handle the truth. You're tearing me apart, Lisa.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Movie Mafia podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Trout. Of course, I'm joined by Gabrielle, Lauren, Max. We're all here. We're all back. Another episode of the Movie Mafia. We are so excited. We got a jam-packed show. I mean, filled to the brim. There is no more room for news. It is completely full. All right. Well, before we get into the news, I need to catch up with you guys. I only get to hang out with you guys once a week. What's going on? What have you guys been up to? What's been happening?
Well, Jacob, I think we have some major news that
Oh my
I think
gosh.
it's time to break.
I was dreading this day.
We met for the first time in person on Friday.
I can
Boom,
hardly believe
mic
it.
drop. I know, Jacob, I still feel like you're a person on the screen.
Yes.
He's actually a computer-generated character.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I just like unzip the suit and step out after the
And
podcast.
he's a green man inside. He takes off the human suit. He's just green.
Yeah. How did you know? What gave it away?
I watch Always Sunny. Green
Oh,
man.
Oh, I see. That was my mistake. Yeah, we hung out. We watched Warm Bodies. You guys ever watch that movie?
That was good. It was a zombie chick flick.
Yeah.
yeah.
It was her choice. All right. Don't judge me.
No. You suggested it, and then we watched it. Don't try and pin this on me. Yeah.
Damn,
I
he's
don't
hard
remember
for me.
this. This hasn't happened. She's lying.
I remember it very clearly, Jacob.
Unfortunately, she might be telling the truth. All right. Well, let's put my chick flicks in the past here, and we gotta talk about Godzilla versus Kong. I know Max is just so excited. He can't wait.
I'm not.
Sleepless
Favorite
nights. He watched the trailer.
No,
He
I'm
watched the trailer 10 times on repeat.
He has a Godzilla plush toy that he sleeps
It's
with
incredible.
every
I mean, how many times has he watched Godzilla King of Monsters, Kong Skull Island? I mean,
One
no one can know. He's
One
lost
time.
count. It's incredible.
One
I mean,
time.
he's promoted the movie. He works for Warner Brothers. It's incredible. I mean,
I wish.
Godzilla versus Kong, Max, tell me about this trailer. I know you loved it.
Well, yeah. Again, let's just get this first, and you know it. I don't really love this franchise whatsoever. I haven't really given a positive grade to any of these films, but I do think that this trailer was very well done. The one part that that you can't believe is true is that you really can't see this movie in a theater. Watching the trailer makes you want to see it in like the biggest movie screen of all time. There's so much going on. But my main issue with the movie, I know it's going to be coming out soon, setting up, is that there's just too many human characters again. And not just are they adding characters from past films in this monsterverse, where they're adding so many more people in here, and everyone just wants to see Godzilla fight Kong instead of watching humans talk about what's going to happen. So, but I love the trailer, the fighting, the special effects. It looks really great, and it's nice to see Millie Bobby Brown back and seeing Alexander Skarsgård added it to the cast. But like, I'm very excited for the movie just because it looks fun, and it also doesn't just look fun, but it's not taking itself so serious like the other films definitely did with these characters. So if it doesn't take itself too seriously, I'm sure I'm gonna enjoy myself.
For sure. Yeah, when I watched the trailer, I'm right there with you. I've seen, at least bits and pieces of the other movies, and I never really thought they were all, all that special, something to write home about, But I saw the trailer, and it was okay. It definitely looks entertaining in that you have two huge rage monsters that are incredibly popular. Godzilla is incredibly popular, many different films over the years, and same thing with Kong. I mean, obviously King Kong is like an icon and super, popular, at least in the States. So having them finally on screen together and battling, and the CGI from what we can see here looks incredible. So that's one thing. If you can nail the CGI and you just have some epic fight scenes, I think you could call this movie a success for what they're going for. I suppose my main criticisms for this trailer
Even
come
having
from
act-
what?
What's the point of even having actors?
True.
Like,
I agree with that. There's just no plot. There's no plot. It doesn't feel like there's any plot, character development, or like meaningful dialogue. You
and
know,
it's
like
not like Millie Bobby Brown is like getting a lasso and like capturing Godzilla, and then like they're not riding the animals. They're not domesticated. There's no need for humans.
I guess the humans are there to make them look that much more insignificant under the vast might of Godzilla and King Kong.
They have a girl kid, and then what happened? Does she get crushed on when they're like fighting?
I mean, presumably, or yeah, they just
Like I feel like a kid can't survive. It looked
I
really
don't know.
violent.
Last film, Millie Bobby Brown should have died like 2 or 3 times last movie, and she didn't die. So I have no idea.
Is she immortal?
I guess so. That's how the movie felt like.
I mean, if she dies, how are they gonna bring her back for Stranger Things? So
Well, different universe. But yeah.
no,
As someone who has never seen Godzilla or Donkey Kong, wait, yeah, Donkey Kong before. Wait, no, wait,
King
what is
King
it? It's
Kong.
not Donkey Kong. King Kong. I was
Same
thinking.
thing.
You know what? I had a moment. I was just saying I forgot to take my ADD meds today. My brain is all over the place. No, I almost said Donkey Kong again. King Kong, as somebody who's never really like seen them before, I was like, whoa, like okay, they're pretty big. That's cool. I want to see them fight. What is Godzilla? Is he a dinosaur? Is he a sea monster? Can someone like explain that to me?
It's a mixture. It's a mixture of both. It is a mixture of both. Correct.
Where skills?
no,
I
no.
have
He's not like I don't know. He can be under the water, but I don't think he's
can,
like
yeah.
I don't think that's his preferred habitat.
Yeah,
Is under the water.
correct. Yeah.
Like hang out underwater, but it's not like a waterful creature.
Yeah,
No, that's right. That's right.
yeah.
Okay.
Like turtle
And
vibes,
then the beam of light.
I guess.
Is that connected to Tony Stark's heart thing with the light beams? Because that's what that looks
I
like.
think
It's
it's
he
just like
ate
a
Iron Man, because Iron Man's dead. So he ate the body, absorbed the heart thing, and now he's like.
I think you should be a writer. Is what I'm getting from this.
I'm such a way with the words, and the plot.
Yeah, I mean, I think that change would be about the only thing that could make this plot more confusing. But no,
can bring
unfortunately,
it
they are not connected at all.
Trust me, they're not gonna make the film confusing. They're gonna make it so generic with the human character, which again, it's what it is. They're trying to add this plot with this kid who I guess has a connection with Kong, which they do in every King Kong movie from the past like 70 years. So I don't know. It just felt like something I've seen in like the 2005 King Kong film. Like it's just been there, done that, but we haven't seen Kong and Godzilla in this setting. So that's all I care about. If the fights are done right, I'm gonna have fun. I'm not looking for Citizen Kane, like do you know what I mean? Like I'm not looking for great dialogue. I just need good fights, and I'll forget about everything else.
This is something I just thought about since you brought that up. Ever since
Yeah.
like the original like 1980s whatever King Kong movies, the thing that has turned Kong into a rage monster is like a human male, being scared around him and like trying to shoot him or stab him or injure him. And then the thing that has calmed him down is like a beautiful blonde-haired girl who just like touches his leg, and then he's like, okay, I'm gonna stop killing people. And that's been in every single King Kong movie that's ever existed. And now instead of like some perfect girl, it's like a little girl, but like she's a kid. She's like 8 years old or something, and she just like walks over to him and like touches his hand, and they touch each other's hand, and he's like her spiritual dad or something. And honestly, it's very played out. But I was getting big Harambe vibes from this when the little girl was next to King Kong, and all the guys had like their guns right there. I'm like, dude, they're gonna try to shoot him. I'm getting flashbacks to Harambe right here. This is not healthy.
I guess they're making it like they're not gonna shoot him because at least in the trailer they made it seem like Godzilla was like the villain and Kong was the hero who's like with the humans. So it seems like Kong's like, which is weird because literally all of last movie was trying to save Godzilla as a positive note, especially with Millie Bobby Brown's character. So I have no idea. Like, I don't know why we need a villain. One of them needs to be a villain. One of them needs to be a hero. I just need them to fight because they're both kind of heroes in a weird way.
Yeah. So I didn't
That's what I was
see. Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say I never really saw the last Godzilla movie, but if you could, fact check me here. I believe the
Yeah.
movie's like there's a bunch of monsters. They're all out there. The government's freaking out. Godzilla
Mhm.
sees it and tries to put a stop to it. The government doesn't know whether he's good or bad. People like Millie Bobby Brown try to convince the government that he's good. He eventually like lays down his life or like basically sacrifices himself to like destroy all the monsters and save the city, whatever, from the world, from all the bad monsters. So he's the good guy in that movie. And then Kong, and in this trailer,
Godzilla's a-
yeah, that's Godzilla. And then
And you
Kong in this
said
trailer is all tied up and like he's
Yeah.
bound, but then they let him go, and then they get attacked by Godzilla. So it's like, why
Mhm.
is Godzilla attacking them? He just saved them.
and why did they go to where Godzilla was in the ocean? They
I
could have just left him there.
I think I'm not 100% sure. I think they were going to the island that Kong was on to retrieve
Yeah.
Kong and then bring
Yeah.
him back to their city to use him in defense against Godzilla. I think that
We have to
was the
see.
intention. It's very
That's
strange.
see. The more we talk about, it, the more I'm nervous because there has to be a lot of exposition from the human characters of what the hell is going on and why this is happening. That is,
Yeah.
it makes
Millie
me
Bobby
nervous.
Brown is an influencer for Godzilla in the movie.
No, absolutely not.
Because you're saying she's telling the government. Who's letting her talk to the government?
No, she's not. She's not talking to the government. Just
They're
her
just shooting each
parents
other?
were like, her parents are scientists. One of them is Kyle Chandler, who's back in this movie, and she just, I don't know. She's just a daughter in distress in the other movie. So I wonder how they use her in this one. Honestly, she didn't have a character. She was just a daughter in distress in the last movie. So
She's just tagging along. She's got to be an influencer.
I just liked that in the trailer during the fight scene, like a badass song started playing. I was sitting there like, "Fight!" and I was like jamming along. I know Max does not agree with me whatsoever, but personally, I think that the choice of song was quite great. I was sitting there, I was like, "Fight! This is a cool song to fight to." I was jamming, but I know Max disagrees.
yeah, I don't know. I only thing I probably liked about it is that you knew the movie wasn't taking itself seriously, which I'm all for. The other movies are too trying to take itself too seriously. So on that part, I'll agree with you. But the song choice was definitely like the first. I was like, "What is going on?" I heard someone just scream something. I was like, "Is this a song or is what's going on?" And then it's song. I was like, "Okay, sure," and I was fine with it the rest of the trailer.
Yeah, one of the last things I wanted to touch on is to your point
Yeah.
about, like what is really going on in this movie, like why is Godzilla painted as the villain? There was some weird, interesting dialogue between some of the humans that were along the lines of, Godzilla is attacking us, but there's a reason why. We need to find this reason. So they don't
Mhm.
really explore it, but hint at, they hint at saying like, "Hey, audience, we know that we painted him as a hero or a good guy in the last movie. The reason he's a villain now is, well, we will tell you in the movie," like type thing. Like we're not brushing over it. It will be addressed. But like that
Yeah.
that's what I got from that little snippet in the trailer.
Yeah, which is great. They should be connecting these movies. For some reason, these movies just don't feel like they're in the same universe. Because the most gone of them being tied together is Kong Skull Island having a post-credit scene of them watching something about Godzilla, but that was about it. So I don't know why this movie does seem like they're connecting it because they're bringing a lot of the cast members back from the other films. But I don't know. I'm excited for it because it's going to be coming out in like 2 months from tomorrow, actually. But I don't know. It's a fun movie. I hope it's fun. I hope it's fun.
For sure. All right. Well, on the topic of reviewing, as we review that trailer, we gotta talk about WandaVision Episode 3. Me and Gabrielle watched it together. And I know
I
Max, you watched it. You didn't watch it, Lauren? Well, you gotta watch it.
just get to that point. Like I'll get there.
Okay, fair enough. I think
Eventually.
you'd actually like it because it's kind of a really trippy show. I think it's actually right up your alley, honestly. It's a super trippy show. I felt like I was watching The Matrix.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But Max, what are your thoughts on episode 3?
I thought this was really good once again. I mean, these are just great. I really am into this show. I know a lot of people just want all the answers given to them already, but you got to be patient. It's a TV show, not a movie, so I'm all for the ride. But this episode really shows the cracks of this world, especially Vision questioning what is going on a lot, which I didn't think we were going to see until much later in the season, but we got that right away. And then Wanda rewinded it, pretended that he didn't ask that question. And Herb was acting very weird this episode, who's Vision and Wanda's neighbor. And we have the twins. They're born in a very hilarious, funny way. And that leads to Monica Rambeau getting kicked out of her world. So a lot happened this episode.
Yeah, no doubt, for sure.
I know
Gabrielle,
people
what'd
are
you think?
I was saying, I know that people have been speculating that the twins are going to be the next generation of superheroes in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I wanted to know what you guys thought of that because that brings up a great point of like, oh, they really could be.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's super interesting. You know,
Yeah.
I have so many questions before I can even process something like that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I just want to know who is really there. Like, at first
Yeah.
when I watched this, I thought, oh, I bet you this is Wanda. She can't recover from the loss of vision, so she created this dream world.
Yeah.
And then now I'm to the point where I feel like the people who are there, her neighbors, know that they
Uh-huh.
are there and they're real people. And um and maybe they'll
Because
I don't know if anyone there is fake at all. Is Vision there? Does he know he's there? Is he fake? Who is we got some shots of the government facility and looked like that they were kind of
yeah.
being held in. We're getting more sneak peeks each episode, but I can't tell who's really there. Is Wanda there? Is Vision there? Are neither of them there? Both of them? I mean, I am just like
So
couldn't be more confused.
what it seems like to me, and that's the biggest theory going right now, is that Westview, which is where they are, it was a real place, and Wanda put this thing on people, and those people who are stuck in this sitcom are trapped, basically. And they kind of alluded to that with Wanda's doctor saying that he wants to go to the Bermuda Triangle or something. And he says that he wants to go to vacation. At the end of the episode, he says he can't go anywhere because he's trapped or something. He says something like that at the end of the episode. So it feels like these people are trapped. So the interesting thing um, is Wanda actually like a villain now, starting to become a villain, or is someone else? Because the big, obviously, Mephisto from the comic books is supposed to be the big villain of the show. And so is he putting spells on people? It's really fascinating to think about.
Yeah, and I think another thing is, one theory I have just out of
Yeah.
nowhere, just like thinking about
Uh-huh.
the show. I wonder if you know it looks like something that powerful is why you think that Wanda could have created it because her vast power is so incredible. But maybe, her motivations, why would she do this if it really is her? Maybe, one thought that comes to mind is if Vision is dead, I know the Mind Stone is so incredibly powerful that maybe she was able to like preserve some of him, but only in like this unconscious state where he can't connect it. And if he connects his memories all together, it'll like short circuit him, like fry him. I don't know if that makes any type of sense, but I wonder if she's the puppet master here because it's what she has to do to like bring Vision back to life. And she doesn't care if she has to become the villain, if she has to manipulate these people, force them to be there, whatever she has to do, kick that,
Yeah.
that girl out of their neighborhood or whatever, um, in order to keep, him here or to fix him or whatever she's trying to do. That might be totally off base, but it's just something that I was, that kind of spoke to me.
Yeah, it's crazy, and we got the twins this episode, which confirms Wicket and Speed. So that's a pretty big deal for the MCU. Yes, you said Young Avengers. Definitely, those two are going to be hugely involved. The question is, do we get to see them as adults? Because it seems like each episode's a new decade. I think the next week is the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, the 80s is next week. So will they get older or gonna stay? Like I have no idea how time works too. Like we keep going from decade to decade. But that's why I like the show a lot. Is that I don't know all the answers. I'm questioning everything that's going on, but I still don't know anything that's going on too. So that's fun. I get why people think it's not, but it makes the show more interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, time is a weird thing in this show. Like Wanda found out she was pregnant, and within a matter of
Yeah.
hours, and she gave birth to two, not one but two babies. The
Yeah.
time is very weird and trippy in this show, and honestly, I like it too. I also love seeing the progression of episodes and their clothing, like everything. Like they really take the essence of each decade and each show that was produced in that decade and applies it to like this show. Like I feel like I was watching a sitcom in the beginning. I was watching a 70s show with them in their outfits. Like Wanda was a hippie in this episode and I love that. Like next episode I want to see the big hair, all the neon, the leg warmers, the scrunchies. Like I'm so excited to see like what they do with each episode because I really do feel like I was watching an old show and now I'm watching like a so it's so good and time is so confusing to me in this show,
Yeah.
but it works.
Jacob, I want to ask you a question too.
Sure.
Being a great MCU fan, we get the pretty heartbreaking scene of Monica bringing up who Monica undercover as Geraldine, talking about Quicksilver from Age of Ultron, at the towards the end of the episode. It seems like they're hinting at, and they brought up Sokovia. It feels like every episode of the show so far. Do you think that she could bring back Quicksilver? Because it feels like um, they've brought up Hydra multiple times. Episode 2 was the Strucker watch, and Strucker's the person who experimented on them in Age of Ultron. So, do you think they could bring back Quicksilver?
I think that's definitely a possibility. I'm definitely getting um, like Wonder Woman 1984 Steve Trevor vibes with Quicksilver.
Mm.
I'm not sure how that's going to turn out. Definitely interested to see how everything's going to happen. But yeah, I mean, I was really surprised when they mentioned Ultron and they talked about it. I was sitting there thinking, wow, they really want to revisit this because that movie wasn't very successful, but they really want to revisit this. So, yeah, I want to know. I'm glad they did because I personally like the movie, but I want to keep.
So do I.
I want to keep hearing like. I just want to keep hearing more information and learn more about what's going on. As you said, this is a lot different from what we normally get, and some people don't like that. But also, I think it's generally a good thing, especially when we're typically spoon-fed our plot in the MCU. So it's a nice change of pace to where I could see this plot going 10 different directions, and each one of them is viable and makes sense. It could be good storytelling, and I absolutely no idea which one they're gonna go, or if there's a secret option that I haven't even thought of.
That's exciting.
I also want to know: are we gonna see Monica again, or Geraldine, whatever her name is? Like, are we gonna see her again? She got kicked out of the world that they're living in. Like, are we gonna see her again? Are we gonna know what that place is? Like, I want to know more about her and where she is now, and I want to also know if she's coming back at all because it seemed like Wanda was not happy with her and kicked her out. So.
Yeah, and going to your point, Jacob, again, like I agree with you because the show does feel so fresh because it's not a super. It doesn't feel like a superhero show at all. Like Vision does stuff and they both have done stuff this show so far that, of course, their powers, but you never feel like you're watching like an MCU movie or anything like that, which is a good thing. I'm not sure it should feel like that, especially with Falcon Winter Soldier, which will feel like that. Um, but this is also trying to set up Doctor Strange too, because Elizabeth Olsen is in the show, sorry, in the sequel to Doctor Strange in a big way. They said so. This is going to be really interesting. We have a 6 episodes left, so I'm gonna be surprised. I know for sure because we're gonna be running out of time in the decades because we're going 80s, 90s. We're almost done now with we're to present day. So how many episodes do we get in present day? Is that just the last episode, or do we get a or 2 to 3 episode arc of the of present day? I have no idea.
That's what I was thinking as well. It's funny that you mentioned that. I thought about that when I was watching it. I was like, I know, like, we're getting close. Like, is there gonna be a finale soon? But no, because there's more episodes. So I think present day might take a little longer to,
Yeah.
or stay a little longer. So.
For sure. All right. Well, with that being said, I think we should move on from WandaVision for now until next week's episode. But um, we have, like I said in the beginning, we have so much to talk about today. So I did want to get into kind of our next big topic that's probably going to dominate a lot of our time here. Harry Potter, and we have the incoming after this the Percy Jackson news. And they kind of connect, so we can talk about them interchangeably. But we got some news that there is a Harry Potter live action series in the works at HBO Max. And obviously, HBO Max and Warner Brothers are connected. And Warner Brothers has since denied these reports, and they said it's not true. This is false. Which I would, I assume even if they were, even if it was true, they would absolutely still say it was false, just so it doesn't derail any of their, casting decisions or they're hiring directors, writers, whatever it might be. But this, if it's true and this is happening, it was reported by Variety and the Hollywood Reporter, then this is huge news for a Harry Potter universe that really hasn't seen much news since like 2011 was the last movie. So yeah. So I mean, this could be potentially massive information for a billion-dollar franchise. The Harry Potter movies are something I've grown up on. I've seen the first few ones and the other ones like bits and pieces. It's been a while since I've seen them, but Harry Potter is a classic and a staple. I think if you talk to 5 people, one of them is going to know Harry Potter. Chances are more than half of them are going to know Harry Potter, honestly. So it's just a huge franchise. Whether or not you've seen it, you at least know of it. So what do you guys think about this kind of massive news?
I can go.
Go ahead.
I'm very nervously excited. Kind of once HBO Max happened, I was kind of like, they have to do a Harry Potter show, right? Because they have that IP just sitting around. And it's interesting because the fans have really not liked these Fantastic Beasts 2 films so far, especially the last one. They really didn't like. So the interesting part is, do we get the original cast back together for a show? Do we get, we end the last film with Harry, Ron, and Hermione's kids going to Hogwarts. Is that the show we're getting? Because you can't do a prequel because we're already getting prequel movies, 3 more prequel movies. So is this going to be bringing back the cast, or is this their kids? Like, I have no idea what the story could be because there's no books to base this off of.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very weird. One of the things that stuck out to me is they called it like the Harry Potter live action series, which I thought was very confusing to me because there's never been anything but live action. So it makes me think that have they considered experimenting into something animated? I don't understand why they would put that in there, or is it just because so many popular shows coming out now are all animated? It's hard to say, but that's something to think about. And with all this news, it's also dredged up all the old J.K. Rowling news, and all the people, and everything that is just a lot of controversy and just a lot of issues and problems. So to me, as much as if I'm Warner Brothers, I'd be sitting there thinking, wow, Harry Potter is a billion-dollar franchise. What am I going to do with it? You also have to think to yourself, like, there's a lot of bad press behind this. There's a lot of controversy. Do we need more of this? We've had 8 movies, basically, if you count part 1 and part 2 of the 7th Harry Potter movie. So you've had 8 Harry Potter movies.
10 if you count the Fantastic Beasts movies.
Absolutely. So do we really need more? And I know this isn't a movie; it's a show. But are all the actors going to come back? Because do people really want to see a show that isn't going to have all the actors in it, the original actors? And if it's a new IP kind of, but like in that same universe, how does that work? Are people still interested in that? What do you title it? If it's Harry Potter was his name, so do you have to title it something different? Uh, and are people still interested in it if it's not related to Harry Potter? It's a hard sell for me. As much as I'm interested in this, I'm very also reserved at the same time, and I can totally see the issues that could come out of this.
And also, how much will J.K. Rowling be involved in the creative process of the show? Because obviously, the Harry Potter films are based off of her books, and then she actually wrote the screenplays for the first two Fantastic Beasts movies. So, is she also going to be writing the show? Because that is going to be where the controversy will come from if they announce that J.K. is even a little bit involved in the show.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely agreed with you, and at the same time her impact and her like writing ability is undeniable. So how does that work? Do they just not have her have any part in it, and then does that take a hit on how good it would end up being? But if you add her into it, fans are going to boycott this is going to be a huge thing. People are not going to want to watch this show. So I just seems like a lose-lose situation for Warner Brothers.
Bless you.
Honestly, bless you. Um, it's
Yeah,
a very complicated.
Cancel culture is toxic. Like, if you even like dare so buy another Harry Potter book, I think somebody might cancel you. But kind of like with any like controversy, you can support like the story, but you may not like support the author, or that's how it is with any influencer. You can support like, I don't know, like their product because it's a good, great product, but you might not like the person who makes the product. That's why it's so hard. And like you said, it's gonna go both ways, and that's just not a good idea. But
Do you
we'll see.
boycott the new Harry Potter if it was a thing?
But I,
Yeah,
I've
like
never,
but like,
I've never seen any of the Harry Potters, so I honestly don't really like care about it. To me, like if it was something like they start to cancel, I don't know, Halsey for something that she said, I would be like, no, like I would love her music. If she's a bad person, she's a bad person, but her music is like my thing. So that's like the tough thing, and that's how it is kind of like with movies. Like you might not like the person, but the movie could be one of the best movies ever made.
Yeah,
it's
yeah, I understand that.
It's tough. Warner Brothers is in a really tough position, not just with the Harry Potter IP, but also with with the controversy of Ray Fisher for Justice League. So there's a lot of baggage right now with Warner Brothers, and it's going to be interesting. Now they could win back fans and say JK's has nothing to do with this, and we're bringing back Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson and Rupert Grint, and say we're bringing back the cast. She's not involved. Let's do something. I think that would be the only scenario that would excite fans. If they bring up a new story, that even if JK is even writing the script, I think this is have a tough time finding an audience.
Yeah, I agree. And then, of course, I mentioned earlier we have the Percy Jackson news, and that directly is kind of, I think, Percy Jackson and Harry Potter have been a little intertwined for a while now. Not that they're in the same world or anything, but that they're a similar style show. Or at least people try to compare the movies, since the books are so popular. So what we know about Percy Jackson is that while it's been compared to Harry Potter for a while, the movies fell completely flat. There's only two movies. Each of them were a very minuscule $200 million revenue with about $100 million budget. Um, Whereas the Harry Potter movies are about a little over $100 million budget and about $1 billion revenue. So it's a huge gap. And whereas this Harry Potter show is reportedly going through HBO Max, the Percy Jackson TV show was just announced to it's going to be pitched to Disney Plus executives sometime this week. So the original writer for the Percy Jackson books that are pretty popular, hopefully I don't butcher his name, but it's like Rick Riordan. Hopefully I got that right. But he actually obviously wrote the books, and when the movies were releasing, they released in, let's see, 2010 and 2013. And if you remember, Harry Potter's last movie was 2011. So these movies were in development during the mid swing of Harry Potter and probably finished, towards the end. So definitely inspired by Harry Potter in some form. And I know that the original author, he had an article that came out. I researched it from about 2 years ago. Oh, it's my alarm. Okay. He had an article that came out about 2 years ago where he did a whole deep dive, and he was criticizing the original directors and the production team and the studio behind the Percy Jackson movies, saying that he wanted to have a more involved role in the films, but he wasn't allowed to. He signed a contract that severely limited his creative influence on the film to almost nothing. So when the film was making changes he didn't agree with, he was powerless to do anything about them, and he believes those are the reasons why the films failed. So he openly bashed these films, and that he didn't agree with them and he didn't like them, and they wouldn't take, the studio wouldn't take his advice. So I find it very interesting that this guy is now back, and now he wrote the pilot script for the Percy Jackson TV show, and that he will be presenting it to Disney Plus. And he came out on social media today and said that everyone he showed the script to has loved it. So there's a lot of positive hype around that. I mean, obviously I see you there, Max. He's not going to say that people hated it, but it's still something to look forward to for fans of Percy Jackson.
Yeah, and I am kind of nervous though about it, and this is also going to bring it back to Harry Potter and the fact that J.K. Rowling did not write the scripts for the Harry Potter films, but wrote it for the Fantastic Beasts films. And no one really is liking these Fantastic Beasts movies, and everyone's loving the movies. So sometimes book writers can write some good scripts for movies, and sometimes they really don't. So that makes me very, very nervous.
Yeah, for sure. I did want to read a quote here. Let's see. So this is from Rick Riordan himself, talking about this from about 2 years ago, talking about the films. He said in this is a summary in an article. He said in his blog post he detailed the struggles he faced pleading with the film's producers to make the first movie faithful to his book. He said that his contract for the film left him with little creative control or final say about the adaptation, which resulted in problematic changes he feared would potentially kill the film franchise. He said that one of his big changes was he had the main characters start as being 12 years old and end at being 16, and that age gap was built there so that it could show their progression from kind of like, young child to kind of like a teenager with more responsibilities and growing up and everything, and it would show that over the arc of the characters and like the decisions they have to make that are like life-changing, world-changing decisions. But instead, the film decided to start them off at 17 years old. So that was something he disagreed with, and one of the things he believes killed the movie franchise's success. And I just compare that to Harry Potter. I remember looking back at the first Harry Potter movie. If you guys haven't seen that in a while, I bet it was about a year and a half ago I rewatched the first movie. I mean, he looks like 14 in that movie or something. He looks young. I think he looks incredibly young.
Younger than that. Way younger than that.
Yeah, maybe even I could totally feel like younger than that.
Yeah.
But he definitely doesn't look like, and nowadays, if you see like this character supposed to be 14 years old, they really look like they're 22. So, that's now, but back then for the Harry Potter movies, I think they definitely shared the same point of view that Rick Riordan was trying to, put onto his Percy Jackson movies. So I'm hoping that if he's now really involved with the TV show now, that he can write it in the way that he wanted his books to be, and maybe the Percy Jackson movie could be grab some of the success that the Harry Potter movies did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the gap is just incredible, I think, between the two. But But yeah, just hoping it can
Yeah,
be
no one even
changed.
compares them that much. That's how big of a gap it is.
Yeah, yeah,
You just don't see people comparing the two because they're not in the same league at this point.
yeah. I mean, I was looking this up today, and I gotta just quickly mention this before we move on. I
Yeah.
said this earlier, but the budget for the two, or the revenue, I'll just forget the budget. The revenue for the two movies, 200 million, and then 230 million for the two Percy Jackson movies. The Harry Potter movies, I'll read them from the first movie to the eighth. 1 billion, 880 million, 800 million, 900 million, 940 million, 930 million, 980 million, and then their final movie, 1.34 billion, the highest gross of the eight in that original franchise,
Hmm.
for Harry Potter. And I just think that's incredible, and that just blows the water out of Percy Jackson. It's not, it blows it out of the water. It is not close, but yeah,
Hmm.
it's absolutely ridiculous. But
Yep.
yeah, so I suppose for now we can close the door on the Percy Jackson Harry Potter news. I know, Max, you had some reviews you wanted to discuss, so go ahead.
Oh yeah. So I have two quick ones here. The first one is a show. Um, I think the first episode of our podcast. I think Lauren and I talked about the Euphoria special episode part one. Well, part two just came out this past Sunday. I got it early on HBO Max on Friday. It's really fantastic. It's all about Jules this episode, and you learn about what it's like to be transgender, how she goes through that process, about what what the point of that meant for her, her addiction that she reveals in this episode, and it completely changes the show for me as a viewer. So if you haven't seen any of Euphoria, you do have to watch the first season, then watch these two special episodes. They are filming season two in March, hopefully, if everything holds up. So that's the goal. And then the movie I want to talk about is, again, as always, Netflix movie review. Um, this one's called The White Tiger, which is an all Indian cast, takes place in India. Um, really, really solid film with about being a servant and how to get to become the wealthy class in India. It's really well done. I did think it's a little too long, and it does feel like there's a lot of narration in it because it's based off of a book. But I really enjoyed it, so I would definitely highly recommend checking that one out as well on Netflix.
Awesome, awesome, good to hear. Um, all right, well, we still have a little bit of time. We blew through our segments uh, in good time. We got through them pretty well. So I
Yeah.
did. There's a few other things that we can talk about to keep this going here. So I know that none of us are huge, to my knowledge, none of us are huge Game of Thrones fans. Of course, we all know
Like a couple episodes.
couple episodes. Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat. It never really struck me, but I have plenty of friends and family that are just diehard Game of Thrones fans. And we'd be remiss if we didn't mention some of the news. So the original writer for Game of Thrones, the original books of which the show is based off of, the writer is George R. R. Martin, and he wrote the book Tales of Dunk and Egg, and it looks like HBO is in the early stages of development on the Game of Thrones prequel title of the same title, Tales of Dunk and Egg. This prequel is in the same Game of Thrones universe, except it is about 90 years earlier. So, I never read any of these books, so I don't know too much about it. I know we all know how popular Game of Thrones is, and we all know how it started off incredibly popular, and then was really, really good, and then started the downhill, and then the final season just plummeted down into the abyss of nothingness. Um, so, I know there's a lot of Game of Thrones fans out there that really want something new to kind of get the sour taste out of their mouth that the last season of Game of Thrones left. And, hopefully this Tales of Dunk and Egg can right the wrong there. You know, I can't say I'm too. I'm not extremely excited for it because I'm not a huge Game of Thrones fan. But my knowledge of Game of Thrones is that the guys who worked on the original um, adaptation, making the book into a movie,
Yeah.
were incredibly talented at adapting a book to film. And then towards the end of Game of Thrones, the the show, um, it they sort of they ran out of source material from the books to adapt, and they had to improvise and add their own story in the direction they wanted to see it go into, and that was the downfall. So I see a lot of people are of the mindset that Game of Thrones would be much better if it was just the directors adapting the book to film. That's it, not having to add their own creative story and the creative elements into it. Just focus on adaptation. So that's what they have a chance here to do if they bring those same guys back um, for this prequel. So what do you guys think? Do you guys think that this has a chance to be successful, or is it just gonna be more of the same of the failures of the Game of Thrones finale?
Yeah. I don't watch Game of Thrones. I have family members who are literally the only thing to talk about is Game of Thrones, so I can't really speak as well because I haven't seen anything. I know the spoilers of the show, but I don't know. I haven't seen like a scene or anything from it. But I did know that Martin was the original writer of the books, and he wrote the first couple seasons, and then when he left, the show really did plummet. So the fact that he's back is, I think, a positive thing for the Game of Thrones people. But again, I can't speak on if it's going to be good or not based on I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it.
For sure, for sure. I mean, I share that sentiment. I think it's definitely something to watch out for. I think the original Game of
Mm-hmm.
Thrones show was a little too coarse, a little too rough for me. But I'll definitely give this prequel a shot, and see if there's any noticeable changes, and I suppose we'll go from there. With that show. But all right. Outside of Game of Thrones, we do have a few other small topics that I want to touch on. The Black Widow movie getting delayed again. I mean, come on. At this point, everything is getting delayed. It feels like. But Black Widow delayed. The official release date that I could find is May 7th, 2021, which is about a year off of the original planned release date before COVID hit. So Black Widow being delayed again, I feel like I've seen the movie already or something. Like I've seen so many trailers. The trailer feels like it came out years ago. I mean, literally.
Yeah.
But what do you think about Black Widow being delayed so long? I feel like the hype has really died down.
Yeah, I think this movie has to come out on Disney Plus soon because it's kind of going in the same page as Wonder Woman 1984, where that was pushed a whole year and a half and it started to die down. And then when the movie came out, people weren't as pumped to see it because, we've already seen a billion promotions for it. And I feel that about Bond too, because they just pushed Bond back until like October, I think. So I think at this point, it either has to hit this release date or they have to stop announcing that they're moving this movie because at this point, it's pissing off fans more. And if it's not gonna come out May 7th, you gotta put it on Disney Plus. That's where I'm at with this film.
Agreed. Yeah, it seems like they desperately want to get this in theaters and have this their kind of transitional movie where they start ramping up in theaters again.
Mhm.
With a movie that they don't want to start their Marvel movies back in theaters with an Avengers movie, per se.
Yeah.
But maybe this movie would be something that they would want to start opening up the theaters again with. That's kind of what I'm getting. Otherwise, I have no idea why this isn't already on Disney Plus. I mean, this movie was supposed to drop last year. There's no way you can convince me this movie is not done. This movie is absolutely done. It's all tied up. It's ready to go. They could have released this movie months ago, and I think they would have been better for it in terms of revenue. So I can't really see any other reason why it's not out yet.
And also people, fans of Disney Plus don't like that they have to pay, you have to pay like $20 to rent Mulan. You'll have to pay $20 to rent Ray and the Last Dragon, but no one's going to care about renting Black Widow. Like if you're a Marvel fan, you're going to rent the movie. So you're still going to make probably a good enough amount of money on streaming. Obviously, it won't be $1 billion movie like it probably would be in theaters, but at this point, you're only costing the people who worked on the film at this point.
Agreed. Yeah, and I'll just throw this, Gabrielle. I know that you're a Wonder Woman fan, and it just seems like I just can't help but think that like this is supposed to be the first superhero movie for the MCU that is led with a female model, like lead. And obviously we have Wonder
Second
Woman
one.
in DC.
Yeah.
Well, the
Second one.
first what other movie was there?
Captain Marvel.
Of course, of course. But in that movie, she did really seem to like go 50-50 with Nick Fury.
She was the no,
But-
she was the lead. She was the lead in that movie.
She was the
So
lead.
that was her
Fair
movie.
enough. That
was
movie
her
was
movie.
terrible. I totally forgot about that. You were right. But
That's her movie.
But this is Black Widow is one of the main Avengers characters since the first Avengers movie in 2012, and she's the only person in that group who hasn't gotten the solo movie out of that. If you count the
Hawkeye.
Hulk, if you count Hawkeye and if you count the Hulk, I mean Hawkeye's getting a TV show, right? I think.
Yeah, he is.
So that's one thing. But I've always been a fan of Black Widow's character, and I always thought she was an interesting character. And I really thought this movie could have been it could have been good for this movie to come out much earlier than it has. So I'm just curious what you think about that.
Yeah, I agree. I was really looking forward to seeing this movie like ASAP when I heard about it because I'm like, yes, another badass female superhero that's getting their own movie. Like, absolutely, I'm gonna go see this, and I think I'm still going to watch it when it comes out, just because, like I said, I love that kind of like superhero movie where the lead is a female. I think that's just so empowering to young girls that say like, I want to be a superhero. They can be a superhero. Like, so I'm very excited to watch it. I think like they keep pushing it, and it's just making me more anxious to see it. But I'm also just like, come on, just like release it already. Like they already put out all the trailers. I've seen probably all of the trailers for it. I'm just sick of waiting. But yeah, no, I'm very, very excited to see this movie.
For sure. Yeah.
I want to see it.
Yeah.
Are you seeing it too when it comes out?
I would like to see it. I kind of want it now.
Did you
Yeah,
see any of
what
the
now?
trailers? You should definitely check out the trailer.
Probably. How long have they been out?
Over a year at this point. I can check real quick.
Yeah, probably
Well over a year. Well over a year.
Oh, yeah.
2 years even. And the cast
Yeah,
is so great,
Jesus.
too.
December
the cast is
3rd,
also great.
2019.
Yeah, that was Comic-Con. They started releasing trailers for that.
You think there's like something when they made the movie that like doesn't age well in the movie, and they have to like edit it out because
Doesn't
they made
Oh.
it so long ago?
doesn't
It's a prequel though. It's a prequel though, so I don't think that would matter.
Yeah.
it does feel weird waiting this long for a prequel. Like
Like
agree.
it's 50.
yeah, we saw Black Widow die in what was it, Infinity War, right?
Endgame.
Or was it was Endgame? Right, Endgame. Duh.
Endgame.
So she dies in Endgame, which was a 2020 movie. That was over the summer, and then she was meant to have this prequel movie just before that, right? Or no, just after that. I mean, just
Endgame
after.
came out in a year after Endgame.
Yeah, a year after. That's what I meant. Yeah, sorry, a year after Endgame. This movie was meant to come out like Endgame. She dies, and then what's next for Black Widow? This movie will tell us. But now it's over the circle. Like, where is Black Widow? We don't know. By the time it comes out, is her story even relevant? Does people even remember the last time they saw her in Endgame?
And two, and Black Widow was supposed to kick off whatever phase we're about to be in, but it ended up being WandaVision. That was the first thing that came out of this new phase, which I'm not sure was intentional. It wasn't intentional at all. Black Widow was supposed to kickstart the next phase of the MCU. So how does that even affect the rest of the MCU that it's not the first one out of the gate? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can think of is they wanted this movie to be in theaters to kickstart their transition back to theaters. But I think that's a really shitty role to give to a film that I think could be really good.
Yeah, and Wonder Woman gave up on that hope too. They were really pushing to stay in theaters, push it, and you just had to drop it. You had to. People couldn't wait over 2 years for a film that's already been done. And when it's not a perfect film, you're gonna get hate, and that's just what it is at this point.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, well we're almost near the end of the episode here, so I did we can pretty much wrap it up at this point. we
Yeah.
have a couple small topics we can talk about, but we can save those for the next episode if we need to. I think we're about good here. All right. Well, with that being said, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for watching. We'll be here next week. We love you all. We're the Movie Mafia. And we'll see you guys next week.